Hey, what's up? Today is Friday the 13th of September. I just completed my 20th flight. 20 flights down, plenty more to go. My second cross-country flight. It went very well and things are really looking up from here. That being said, I have to keep my head down and keep working. Well, let's talk about that more on the drive home. So this flight once again had me going out to Vernon Field. I'm very grateful that I've actually been able to have another week where I had 3 flights, and these 2 flights specifically being back to back, very helpful. Helped a lot with retention, and it's really everything I ever dreamed of when it came to having my flight lessons. Just being able to carry out all the lessons as close as possible from each other. Just being able to have my lessons as close as possible to each other to maximize retention, and it really is showing. I had little to no issues with today's flight. There still is that personal feeling of feeling like not necessarily overwhelmed, but I feel like the workload is a lot more, and I don't know if that's just how it's supposed to feel, and I just need to adjust to it, or if I actually am overwhelmed and there's stuff that needs to be adjusted on my side. However, I was able to complete the flight safely, praise God. I also completed it without any issue, and technically there is little to no input from my instructor in terms of having to take over controls. So in that aspect, the flight was completed to standard. So maybe there's just, as I said, it's a new, all the tasks that I'm doing are very new to me. So maybe I just need to get used to them. Maybe that's why. On this flight, I was really looking out for stuff ahead of time, which of course is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be ahead of the airplane. So being able to predict where you are and where you're going to be, and having to write it down quickly, because you have to also be focusing on, of course, where you're flying to keep the plane going straight. You have to keep the plane at altitude. You have to do all those other things while also navigating. That's why we have an order of things: aviate, navigate, then communicate. And that's exactly what I did today. I made sure that even if it meant I would forget the time I left a certain waypoint, I'd rather be a couple minutes off of time and still have an idea where I am, because I'm still using dead reckoning. I'm just not marking down the time at this exact time, which ideally you want to do. However, if it means I'm going to turn over the plane because I'm not looking outside, then it's not worth it. If in a worst case scenario, I can always call for ATC to give me a heading or something to fly. I also noticed I was able to pick up on my position a lot better. I was able to tell, oh hey, I'm right here now, and right there is right there, and up on my right is right there, and it all comes together on the map. So that was very nice to see my ability taking place. I was able to see all of that happening in real time. I genuinely have never felt more growth than I have in the past 2 weeks, a total of 6 flights, than I have in the past, how much months now? 4 or 5 months of actually flying. And that's really, that's the aim of the game. That's what I've been saying this whole time. You get a lot more done when those flights are close together. And especially a back-to-back flight, you might not feel like it in the morning if they're two back-to-back early morning flights. However, you have to just look past that. It's just like any other grind or any other frog you have to eat in the morning. You just have to get it out of the way. Because I was not feeling it at first, to the point where I'm wondering, should I really continue this? Because mentally I just don't feel there. However, after I looked past that, I actually got in the plane and we took off. I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be at this time of day. I'd rather be there and in the plane rather than at home, probably not doing anything of use. I also got to try out having that makeshift kneeboard, using the clipboard and just resting in my lap, because since the 152 is such a small space, you really don't have to worry about it sliding anywhere. However, if the cockpit was any larger, then of course I'd have to start thinking about, hey, is this actually going to stay here? Time being, until I buy a proper kneeboard, it does the job. It keeps the papers from flying away from me, at least. So no, I can't really complain about that. I'm starting to really feel comfortable in the aircraft, and that just goes to show how long of a way I've come from. because on that first flight I was really, really tense. However, after a while, you have to just put faith in God, you have to put faith in the mechanics who are working on the aircraft, and you have to put faith in your own ability to know that, hey, it is up to me to notice if something is going wrong. So just be on the lookout for that, and you are going to be fine. And of course, we have all our training. Why do you think we practice so much about the emergency landing? Why do you think we practice so much about thinking where we need to land? Even in today's flight, my instructor was asking me, where would you put the plane down if we had an engine failure right now? And that is the mindset you need to have on these flights. You need to be constantly looking out for somewhere to go. And even not on these flights, but on all flights, you have to be knowing, where am I putting it down? Where am I putting it down? If I go out here, where is it? If I lose the engineer, where is it? And in both cases, well, fortunately, it wasn't just him asking me that prompted me to think about it. I was also thinking about it. And sometimes it's kind of dire, because you notice around you that Jamaica is a very mountainous area. And even though we are on the southern coast flying this, and the southern coast is generally more flat than the north and the central parts of the island. That being said, there's still some what would look like plains, but it's actually a bunch of up and down hills. Not to mention, it's completely covered in vegetation, completely. That being said, there is always a best option. I'd rather those soft hills than a sharp mountain, you know. Now, of course, I'm not trying to get carried away, because you don't know when your bad day might happen. So no matter how well I perform today, I have to be thinking of ways I can perform better tomorrow, ways I can perform better the next flight, the flight after that, and so on. It was actually kind of reassuring to hear my instructor tell me about that in those specific words. How could you do better? Because that's what I'm always saying, right? You're always improving. You have to always be improving, right? You have to always be improving. So although everything is going well so far, can't get carried away. You have to keep a calm head, remain humble, and it will sort itself out. That's the aim of the game. Patience. I especially need to keep this in mind, because at first I thought there wasn't a lot left to do in terms of check ride, in terms of how ready I am for a check ride, but it actually turns out that there really is not much left to do. So it really puts it into perspective at how long it's been, how far I've come, and still how much more there is left to go. It really is just getting started. It really is. And how could I forget today's landing? A lot better than yesterday's landing. Not to say that yesterday's landing was terrible or something. However, going by the motto, always improving, I was able to improve on it, and I'm quite pleased. I was quite pleased with it. Now, whenever my next flight is, which might be tomorrow, imagine that 3 flights back to back would be something. But assuming whenever my next flight is, I'm going to, of course, improve the landing on top of that, and then the next flight after that, I'll improve on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. I'm not going to stop. I will not stop, God willing. It really brings a smile on my face just thinking about how much notes I've written about each flight, how much pages, well, not pages, but how much entries there has been in my logbook. It really gives me a sense of accomplishment. I made this decision to not go to any tertiary. Well, I guess this is tertiary. I had something to do post high school, but I made a decision to not go to a university. I made a decision to perform training for a skill that is not even guaranteed, or I'm not saying not even guaranteed, a skill that I don't have to make a career out of, but a skill nonetheless, a very high level entry skill. Now, I'm not saying there was any doubt against my decision externally. However, there were times in those first couple of flights I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to continue this? But of course, mind over matter, praying on it, and just remaining consistent. If there's one thing you have to do, at least show up to the next day. You never know when it's just going to click and everything goes how you wanted it to go. with that being said, I don't think there's really much for me to say about this flight. Maybe I'll record the next one, I'm not sure, but for the time being, I'm not too worried about recording the flights because I'm low on storage on both my desktop and my phone. So I'm trying to save the recorded flights to be special moments. For example, my first solo still hasn't happened yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But on top of that, I'm also looking for the next first solo after that, the first solo cross country. But we'll find out. I'm sure that over a weekend I'm going to just lock into the editing, because on these type of videos there isn't really much errors for me to cut out. It's just for me to actually watch over and make sure the video makes sense from start to finish, and then add in some chapters so people can see which areas of the video is talking about what. So when you put it into perspective like that, there really isn't an excuse for me to not have done it yet, but we'll get around to it. Thanks again for just waiting and trusting the plan as I continue to get the rest of these videos out. So yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about becoming a pilot in Jamaica, or just becoming a pilot, or just you want to learn about my journey specifically. My name has been Robert Watson. Remember to always be improving, and I'll see you again very soon. God bless.
Yeah, I only tell you the truth. I ain't got nothing to lose. Yeah, I gave my life to God and I'm still ballin'. Ain't nobody that can tell me I ain't all in. Late at night I hear the devil steady calling me. That's when I pray to the Father that He give me strength to fight these monsters.